We all remember the Beach Boys, don't we? Their melodies filled with California sunshine, endless beaches, and blonde surfer boys seem to symbolize a carefree era. But beneath that glossy veneer lies a story not everyone knows, a personal tragedy spanning decades that looking back might wrench your heart. Today we'll lift the curtain on the turbulent life and tragic death of Dennis Wilson, the most romantic yet loneliest drummer of the legendary band. Prepare yourself, for Dennis's story won't just linger on joyful tunes. It will make you reflect and perhaps even shed a tear. The romantic facade and the mystery of his life. When we think of the Beach Boys, many of us in our 60s likely picture California's sun-drenched beaches, surfer boys with boards and carefree, joyful melodies. Among them, Dennis Wilson stood out as the most vivid embodiment of that California dream. He wasn't just the band's drummer, but the only member who truly lived the surfer life, a free-spirited romantic carrying the wild flame of the ocean. His piercing blue eyes, tousled blonde hair, and devil-may-care smile could effortlessly captivate anyone. Dennis seemed the perfect incarnation of what the Beach Boys represented: freedom, love, and endless joy. Yet behind the glamorous facade and meteoric fame, Dennis Wilson's life concealed deep mysteries and profound cracks that few knew about. From the start, though, he brought the authentic beach life inspiration to the band. Dennis often felt overshadowed by his brother Brian's prodigious songwriting talent. The pressure of expectations and the stifling control within the family and band fueled a quiet yearning in him to prove himself, a subtle rebellion. As the Beach Boys' star shone ever brighter, Dennis sank deeper into a complex private world. Beneath the romantic, carefree exterior was a vulnerable soul, a heart, craving love and understanding, but repeatedly seeking it in the wrong places. All-night parties, fleeting relationships, and notably the door he opened to unexpected figures, began to reveal the first seeds of tragedy. His life wasn't just the bright laughter of crashing waves. It held undercurrents of storms, waiting to erupt, foreshadowing an ending more heartbreaking than anyone could imagine. Few could have foreseen that one of the darkest and most haunting chapters in Dennis Wilson's life, and a stain on the Beach Boys' legacy, would stem from a chance encounter in the spring of 1968. That was when Dennis's wild flame, always yearning for new experiences and a deeper truth beyond Hollywood's glossy surface, unwittingly met the deranged inferno from the depths of American society, Charles Manson. This relationship was no mere coincidence. Dennis, a sensitive but lost artist's soul, was easily swayed by strong, unconventional personalities. He was drawn to Manson's mysterious aura, his seemingly gentle yet commanding presence, and the chaotic yet captivating philosophical rants he preached. Manson, an ambitious but failed amateur musician, saw in Dennis a golden ticket to the prestigious music world. He didn't hesitate to exploit Dennis's trust, hospitality, and wealth. A chilling secret that many fans were unaware of or chose to ignore was that Dennis didn't just allow Manson and his family to stay in his lavish Pacific Palisades mansion. He was drawn into their bizarre world. He believed Manson had musical talent, even introducing him to prominent producers and trying to help him record songs. At times, Dennis's home overflowed with Manson's young female followers, wild parties, and an increasingly tense, eerie atmosphere that replaced the initial carefree vibe. This connection quickly spiraled beyond curiosity or kindness. Dennis began witnessing disturbing behaviors from Manson and his followers, heavy drug use, chilling philosophies, and subtle signs of violence. With his masterful manipulation, Manson planted dark ideas in Dennis's mind, preying on his emotional instability and need for a guide. He exploited Dennis's generosity, draining his money and causing significant damage to his property. Gradually, Dennis realized he was trapped in a nightmare. Manson and his family grew dangerous and uncontrollable. Dennis tried to sever ties, but it was far from easy. Manson wasn't one to let his prey go lightly. He even openly threatened Dennis. The consequences of this fateful relationship were devastating. Not long after Dennis finally expelled Manson from his home, The horrific series of murders by the Manson family erupted, shocking America and the world. Though Dennis was not directly involved in the killings, the fact that he had once harbored and even sponsored this notorious murderer became a lingering torment. The guilt and horror haunted Dennis for the rest of his life. He never fully escaped Manson's shadow, which deepened his addiction and mental instability. This wasn't just a sad chapter in Dennis Wilson's life. It was a chilling testament to how a lost soul could be drawn into an abyss by the darkest forces. This connection remains a painful reminder of what can lurk beneath Hollywood's glamorous surface and the price paid when a door is unwittingly opened to hell. The spiral of despair. As the Beach Boys soared to the pinnacle of fame, Dennis Wilson's life slid into an inescapable spiral of glamour and darkness. He had everything a young man could dream of: global stardom, abundant wealth, and a coveted place in the music world. Yet for a sensitive and unstable soul like Dennis, fame became an immense burden, a slow poison eroding him from within. The constant pressure to maintain the perfect California boy image, relentless touring schedules, and intense scrutiny from the public and media stripped away his privacy and innate freedom, driving him to seek dangerous escapes. He felt trapped, defined by a role, and gradually lost touch with his true self. A heartbreaking secret was that Dennis had long succumbed to alcoholism and drug addiction, particularly cocaine, which became an inseparable companion during the peak years of his career. Initially, it may have been a way to cope with the loneliness amidst superficial crowds, relieve stress after grueling performances, or chase a fleeting illusion of freedom when reality grew too stifling. But soon addiction turned into a relentless demon, steadily destroying his once robust physical health, corroding his spirit and shattering his relationships. Cancelled shows due to Dennis's drunkenness or unexplained absences, uncontrollable outbursts of anger, and endless wild parties not only tarnished his public image, but also alienated him from his family, bandmates, and once close friends. He was caught in a relentless cycle of attempting to quit and relapsing a protracted battle he seemed never able to win. Dennis's romantic life was also an unending series of tragedies, vividly reflecting his instability and yearning for love. He was a romantic, passionate man, desperately seeking love and family connection, but his addiction and impulsive, irresponsible nature made him an unreliable husband and partner. Dennis went through several short-lived broken marriages with Carolyn Williams, Barbara Charon, Karen Lard, Mike Love's cousin, and later Sean Love, who was once married to Mike Love himself. Each relationship began with fervor and hope, but ended in tears and bitterness. The women who loved him sincerely endured his erratic rages, lack of responsibility, and self-destructive habits. It was a ceaseless cycle of hope and disappointment, where love was never strong enough to save a soul sinking deeper into despair. Despite having children, he could never build a peaceful home, and his failures in relationships deepened his sense of loneliness and helplessness. Dennis's life became a poignant tragedy of a man desperate for love and acceptance, yet forever lost in the shadows he himself created. When music was the only escape, amid the hollow glamour of fame and the grueling battle with his personal demons, music became Dennis Wilson's sole lifeline, the one place where he could find a semblance of peace and express his deepest emotions. For years he was the handsome drummer of the Beach Boys, often overshadowed by his brother Brian's songwriting genius. Yet deep within, Dennis harbored a unique musical talent, a distinct artistic voice he yearned to set free. The artistic secret was that Dennis, though not the band's primary songwriter, made significant contributions over time. His raw yet soulful voice and deeply personal compositions like Forever and Little Bird revealed an emotional depth far removed from the carefree Beach Boy image. These were songs written from the heart, honest and melancholic, starkly different from the band's usual upbeat melodies. They were whispers of a soul searching for meaning and peace amidst chaos. However, Dennis's creative peak lay in his soul solo album, Pacific Ocean Blue, released in 1977. This was not just an album, but a musical testament, the truest reflection of his fractured inner world. In it, Dennis poured all his pain, regret, love, and longing for liberation into every note. His voice, weathered by a reckless lifestyle, grew husky and rough, but carried an extraordinary emotional weight, striking listeners' hearts with raw power. Pacific Ocean Blue was an underappreciated masterpiece at the time, but later hailed by critics and fans as a hidden gem of 1970s music. It surpassed what the Beach Boys were doing, then blending rock, soul, gospel, and pop with Dennis's characteristic freedom and spontaneity. Songs like River Song, Thoughts of You, and Farewell, My Friend were not just beautiful melodies, but honest confessions of his life, the complexity of love, the haunting presence of death, and moments of solitude on a lost soul's journey. After Pacific Ocean Blue, Dennis began working on a follow-up project called Bamboo. Though never fully completed due to his worsening decline, the surviving recordings showed he was still exploring and maturing musically. Tragically, his personal demons prevented him from finishing this second masterpiece. Music was his escape, the space where Dennis could shed the rock star mask and reveal his true self, a creative soul brimming with profound tragedy. Yet even music, Dennis Wilson's final solace and salvation, couldn't pull him from the abyss he was sinking into. Alongside moments of creative transcendence was an unrelenting struggle with himself, a tragic wrestle against the addiction that had seeped into his very being. Dennis repeatedly tried to break free from the mire of alcohol and drugs, entering rehab centers and trying various methods, but all seemed futile. Each attempt at sobriety was a faint glimmer of hope, only to be swiftly extinguished as he relapsed, plunging deeper into despair. His inability to control his life became a crushing psychological burden, drowning him in guilt and shame. The heartbreaking secret was that Dennis's final years were an unending descent into irreversible ruin. The once romantic exterior gave way to a haggard, prematurely aged appearance. His husky voice, though still emotive in music, bore witness to the ravages of his excessive lifestyle. Dennis's physical health deteriorated gravely. He was often exhausted, frail, and faced serious health issues. His mental state fared no better, with deepening depression, paranoia, and isolation. His relationships with family and bandmates reached a breaking point as they watched helplessly while he destroyed himself. Every effort by friends and loved ones to help seemed only to push Dennis further into a cycle of rejection and self-destruction. All these signs, no matter how desperately concealed, were stark warnings heralding an inevitable tragic end awaiting this gifted but tormented artist. A silent death in the sea, years of grappling with fame, addiction, and shattered relationships gradually pushed Dennis Wilson to the edge of an abyss. Despite fleeting moments of brilliance in his music, the cries from that depths could not save him from his fated destiny. The ocean, an endless source of inspiration for the Beach Boys' joyful melodies, and the place where Dennis found true freedom in his youth, ultimately bore witness to the tragic end of his life. It was December 28th, 1983. A cold winter day, far removed from the sunlit California beaches he once sang about. Dennis was in Marina del Rey, California, aboard a friend's yacht, though in the midst of rehab temptation still lurked. That fateful afternoon, after drinking heavily all day, Dennis dove into the frigid waters near the harbor, attempting to retrieve personal items he claimed to have thrown there years before, including a wallet containing a photo of an ex-girlfriend and a few keepsakes. This heartbreaking story was not just about searching for lost possessions. For many, his actions carried a deeper symbolic meaning. Dennis seemed to be desperately seeking the lost fragments of his own life, the memories and pieces of his soul he had scattered along his turbulent journey. He dove repeatedly, and on his final dive, cruel fate struck. Dennis Wilson, The romantic son of the sea died by drowning at age 39. His death was ruled accidental, with a high blood alcohol level contributing to the tragedy. It was a heart-rending end for a man who spent his life craving freedom, but was imprisoned by his own demons. His passing was not only a profound loss for his family and music, but also a painful reminder of fame's dark side and personal tragedy. Days later, Dennis Wilson's ashes were laid to rest in the Pacific Ocean, granted by special permission from President Ronald Reagan, as Dennis was the only former Navy serviceman ever honored in this way. The sea where he once found joy and inspiration embraced him forever. Tears for a free but lost soul. Dennis Wilson's life was a symphony of radiant notes and heart-wrenching lows. He was an indispensable part of the Beach Boys, bringing the true soul of beach life to their music. But more than that, he was a true artist, with his solo album Pacific Ocean Blue, a forgotten masterpiece only later recognized as the most honest expression of a broken soul. Dennis Wilson's story is not just a sad page in rock history. It is the tale of a man seeking meaning and peace amid the storm of fame, toxic relationships, and an endless battle with addiction. He was an icon of the glamorous California dream, but a vivid testament to its dark underbelly, the loneliness and tragedy hidden behind the stage lights. Dennis Wilson's death at 39 was not only shocking, but left an enduring ache. It was the final note of a life full of contradictions, of a heart yearning for love and acceptance, yet forever lost in the shadows it created. Perhaps the tears we shed, hearing his story, are not only for the tragic loss of a rock star, but for all the free, romantic yet lost souls who struggled to find light in their lives.